Coming up, is including a mask mandate ban policy in the state budget constitutional? The Arizona Supreme Court takes on this question.
And a recent study shows first responders contract COVID-19 at double the rate of healthcare workers. Coming up, why first responders are at such a high risk.
And later on Break It Down, a look at how race impacts business and entrepreneurship.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Sean DePaz.
And I'm Diana Quintero. Thank you for joining us.
Should policy matters be included in the state budget? That was the question before the Arizona Supreme Court. And today, justices heard arguments and made their verdict. In a unanimous decision, the justices upheld a lower court ruling that the state legislature violated the Constitution by including new laws banning masks in schools and other policy measures. The ruling came just 2 hours after the hearing. In September, a Maricopa County Superior Court judge ruled that adding other provisions to the budget bill violated the state constitution's rules against single-subject bills and clear language in the title of bills. The state attorney general's office argued that the practice has been in use for years. The solicitor general, who argued on behalf of the legislature, also said that a provision in their state budget legislation banning mask mandates is in line with the Constitution because it is the state that provides funding to the public school system.
This is a rational basis review, and the legislature could say if we're going to fund schools, we want kids to go to the schools, and we think mask mandate is going to deter attendance. We don't want the schools that we fund to be imposing these types of mandates. That is within the power of the legislature. And if I'm somebody who cares about K-12 education, I know it's funded through the legislature every year.
When they put a title on a bill that is not only providing adequate notice, but that is misleading to the public, it causes the very evil that these constitutional provisions exist to prevent.
The ruling issued by the state Supreme Court was brief, but said it did not agree with all of the reasonings of the lower court. A fuller written opinion is expected later.
A recent study by researchers at the University of Arizona Health Sciences shows first responders contract COVID-19 at a rate twice that of healthcare workers. Cronkite News reporter Raven Payne tells us why first responders are at such a high risk.
The researchers, who go by the acronym AZ Heroes, looked at over 1,700 Arizona first responders, healthcare workers, and other essential workers to see how many contracted COVID-19. Their data shows first responders had a 13.7% rate of COVID-19 infections, while healthcare workers had 6.2%. First responders put themselves in danger every day to protect people, and COVID-19 introduces more of a threat to these essential workers than previously thought. According to AZ Heroes researcher Dr. Kate Ellingson, it was surprising that they had such a higher COVID-19 infection rate than healthcare workers.
And this did surprise us because everybody in our study has to have a certain level of exposure. So to even participate in the study, they had to work at least 20 hours a week and be in frequent close contact within 3 feet of patients, the public, each other.
First responders, like firefighters, are the first line of defense when helping people. And according to Captain Scott Douglas, that is why they're exposed to COVID-19 at such high rates.
We're the ones that are going to be in their home, around them, around their families that also might be sick.
Preventative measures for these firefighters include wearing masks to and from rescues, washing their hands frequently, and a decontamination unit unique to Phoenix.
It uses what's called D7, a very good decontamination material that we put on the different fire trucks, the different fire stations, as well as all the different facilities that the city has for the fire department.
Douglas says vaccinations are also ways to keep responders safe, and that most, if not all, at his station are COVID-19 vaccinated. Dr. Ellingson says this study shed light on the need for more first responder research, and that some is already underway. In the newsroom, Raven Payne, Cronkite News.
There were more DUI arrests in Arizona this Halloween weekend than the past 2 years combined. That's according to the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety. From Friday to Sunday, 332 people were arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence. 72 of those arrests were made for extreme DUI, meaning they had a blood alcohol content of 0.15 or higher. 260 people were arrested during the same holiday last year, with 52 cited for extreme DUI. The average known blood alcohol content of those arrests over the weekend was 0.152. Arizona is a zero-tolerance state.
Today, Governor Doug Ducey and the Arizona Department of Housing announced a new homeowners assistance program. The $197 million project is supposed to help struggling Arizonans stay in their homes. The fund will be used to help homeowners pay their mortgage, utilities, and other home-related payments. Ducey said that the funds are ready for homeowners who qualify. To qualify, the homeowner has to have an income equal to or less than 150% of the area's median income, along with suffering a financial hardship anytime after January 21st of 2020. The home must also be your first primary residence. When we come back, we'll have a new episode of COVID Case by Case. We'll explain how religious exemptions work for the COVID-19 vaccine.
And a proposed federal rule for large companies involving COVID-19 vaccines. After the break, what it means for you.
She's the White House correspondent for the PBS NewsHour.
It has been a historic and traumatic week in Washington, D.C.
Former reporter for the New York Times, political analyst for NBC, and multimedia journalist at USA Today.
Join me this week and every week for a critical look at this week's top news stories.
Yamiche Alcindor, the new moderator of Washington Week.
Friday nights at 7 on Arizona PBS. It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons, your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS.
The federal government says it will require companies with at least 100 workers to provide paid time off for employees to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Companies will also be required to give paid sick leave for those recovering from the effects of the shots. Employers must comply unless their policies require employees to choose to get vaccinated or to undergo regular COVID-19 testing and wear a mask at work. Federal contractors will have broad authority on how to treat employees who refuse to be vaccinated. Under an executive order issued in September, contractors have until December 8th to ensure employees are fully vaccinated.
November 1st was the deadline for many workers across the United States to get vaccinated for COVID-19. But from hospital employees to city workers, some are asking to be excused from getting the shots because of religion. Cronkite News health reporter Camila Williams explains how religious exemptions work in today's COVID Case by Case.
Welcome to Case by Case. With more and more businesses mandating employees get vaccinated, some workers are seeking exemptions under federal law. That includes exemptions based on religion. I talked with two professors about how this works and who qualifies.
While more than 50% of the U.S. population is vaccinated, some people have their reasons for not getting the vaccine. One is religion. However, claiming you can't get the vaccine because of your religion may not be enough to qualify you for an exemption. Belief exemptions have been around since the late 1800s when the British government added a conscience clause to laws requiring smallpox vaccinations. In the 1960s, religious exemptions grew more common in the U.S. against mandated polio vaccines. With COVID-19, vaccine mandates are giving rise to more requests for exemptions. So the question we're answering today is, who qualifies for religious exemptions? Bernard Pruzak is the director of the McGowan Center for Ethics and Social Responsibility at King's College in Pennsylvania. He gives us some insight.
These people need not point to a particular religion that supports them. They've just got to make a case that they're against vaccination, and they hold that belief with the strength of conviction of traditional religious believers.
Law professor Dorit Rice says there may be valid reasoning to request an exemption.
The courts say that religion here has to be something that's about fundamental questions of life and death, big questions. So it can't be, I think vaccines are dangerous, or I think the virus is a hoax. It has to be about more general, deeper question.
Title VII says that if an employee requests an exemption to a COVID-19 vaccine because of religious beliefs, the employer must accommodate that request if those beliefs are sincere and practiced. If an employer has reason to question the sincerity of the request, they may ask for additional supporting information. There is a difference between beliefs that are political or personal, and those are not religious beliefs in the eyes of the Supreme Court. Research shows that clergy members are more likely to encourage COVID vaccinations than discourage them. One question is whether the vaccine contains aborted fetal cells or tissue. Experts stress that they do not. Some fetal cell lines, which are grown in a lab from cells collected generations ago, were used in researching the mRNA vaccines. Those cell lines are also used to develop Tylenol, Claritin, and other common drugs. The Vatican has said it's morally acceptable to receive the COVID vaccines that were developed using fetal cell lines. The Pope himself received his third shot last month. According to the CDC, all 3 vaccines are safe and highly effective. You can find more information at vaccines.gov. In the broadcast center, Camila Williams, Cronkite News.
Now, October may have finished a little cooler and drier than usual, but we're looking at near normal temperatures this week. Nick Chesky is in the Weather Center with details.
Yeah, so it's the second day of November, and as we're getting into November, you would think that the temperatures would be cooler, but that's not the case here in Arizona, as we'll find out later. First, let's look at some rain across the U.S. here. As you can see, we're going to have quite a bit of rain up here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's actually going to come cascading down here through the Great Plains, Colorado, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and it's going to miss us here in Arizona completely, unfortunately. Now, looking at those hot temperatures I was talking about, we're not cooling down here in November. 87 degrees here in Phoenix, 74 in Sedona, 61 up in Flagstaff. So some nice temperatures up in Flagstaff, but it's hot in here in Phoenix still. So now looking at our evening planner for tonight, it's going to be pretty clear with some clouds right about now at 79 degrees, but those clouds are going to roll away. And it's going to be a pretty clear, crystal clear, comfortable night. It's going to cool down to about 70 degrees come 10 p.m. Now, looking at our 8-day forecast for these next 8 days, you can see the temperature, it's kind of bouncing around this high 80s, almost to 90 degrees, 88, 89 here and there. Until next Monday, we get some clouds rolling in the sky next Monday, and that's going to cool us down. It's actually going to drop us to 83, and then we're going to even go even further to 80 when those clouds kind of rescind away, and then even further below that to 78 degrees. Coming into this November season here as we approach the Thanksgiving holiday. In the Weather Center, Nick Chesky, Cronkite News.
I'm Cam Dyer. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. I'll take you to a ceremony celebrating 6 Arizona sports greats that was nearly 2 years in the making.
She's the White House correspondent for the PBS NewsHour.
It has been a historic and traumatic week in Washington, D.C.
Former reporter for the New York Times, political analyst for NBC, and multimedia journalist at USA Today.
Join me this week and every week for a critical look at this week's top news stories.
Yamiche Alcindor, the new moderator of Washington Week.
Friday nights at 7 on Arizona PBS. It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons. Your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS.
Welcome back. I'm Cam Dyer, and here's your Cronkite Sports Report. Last night was a special one in Arizona sports history as it marked the 50th induction ceremony to the Arizona Sport Hall of Fame, featuring 6 all-time greats. I attended last night's event and talked to this year's class. The inductees began their night in style, walking the red carpet and taking in the magnitude of the moment.
It's an honor and privilege to be distinguished amongst all the great sportsmen and sportswomen who've played in this state or represented the state, Arizona family. 4 generations of Arizonans in my family will be here tonight. Real proud just to be representing the state.
6 Arizona sports greats finally got the chance to walk this red carpet after waiting nearly 2 years, and according to them, it was well worth the wait.
It's really special, there's no question. I've been here 15 seasons now with the Phoenix Mercury and the Phoenix Suns, and I never dreamed of something like this. It's pretty special. Anytime you get inducted into a Hall of Fame, it means a lot.
The in-person event even shocked one of the inductees, and he feels that it is a sign of better times to come.
Really, I thought they would just do some kind of a, remote, or it's going to be the proverbial Zoom induction, right? You go, hey, here you are on Zoom. And, but no, it's great that it's actually happening. And, it's like a lot of things. Things are coming back, and so it's great.
These honors are a time for family, young and old, to look back at their loved ones' achievements. The late Paul Westphal had his grandchildren read his acceptance speech, while Roland Heeman's son accepted his award, and Joe Carter even wore his family on his shirt. The wait was lengthy, but all of these legends will always be Arizona Sports Hall of Famers. The Suns and Pelicans tip off tonight, and for Phoenix, they'll be seeing a familiar face. Pelicans head coach Willie Green was the Suns' assistant from 2019 to 2021. The Pelicans are still without injured big man Zion Williamson and are seeking just their 2nd win of the season.
It is weird seeing him in another uniform and coaching a different team. Looking forward to competing against Willie. He knows us well, so we're game planning on what we know he knows.
ASU is still recovering from a disappointing loss Saturday against Washington State for their 2nd straight defeat. Their chances of getting into the Pac-12 championship look a bit further away. Next home game is Saturday against USC, and Coach Herm Edwards wants to make sure they are focused for the rest of the season.
We got to play a whole game. We can't play in halves. And I think if we can get back to our momentum and get going again, starts for us early in games. I think we got to get it going early offensively and defensively, and then just play a full game. We haven't played a full game. We're playing a half of football games, and not going to win like that.
And that does it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Sean and Diana.
That's it for Cronkite News Tonight.
Thank you for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Break It Down is up next.